Well, here we are again. Good morning and welcome back. Um, it's nice seeing all of you again. Please, hold the applause. Hold the applause until after the show. Okay, I'm not Bill Maher. I don't have to walk out here and have all of you people yell and scream and whistle like you're doing right now. So cut it out. I'm a modest person. I don't like the world to have to see the adulation out there. Although I understand where you're coming from. Who wouldn't understand that, right? Enough about me. So, I'm watching Joe Scarborough today, and I generally like Joe, but he openly acknowledges that he didn't go to a real law school like Indiana University where I went. He went to Alabama or something, and he's just a cracker barrel country lawyer, and I accept him at his word. I don't think he's much of a lawyer, but I think he's right on when it comes to many of the things he says politically, although he does have a tendency to repeat himself over and over and over. And no matter what he says, he calls on his range of guests, and they always say, well, Joe, I agree with what you said, and then they repeat what he said. Now, I understand they have to fill like 4 hours every morning, so that's tough. But to me, when I watch these shows, I want to hear something new. I want you to tell me something I didn't know already. I don't need for you to repeat what every other talking head has to say about, Donald Trump's culpability or the weather in the Dominican Republic or whatever it is that everybody's all talking about at the same time. So I tend to fast forward through these shows, but I do watch them. In the morning, I turn on Morning Joe, I turn on CNN, I even turn on Fox News, and I watch that as long as I can take it. I consider that a test of my character. And considering how long it takes me to turn it off, I guess I don't have that much character. Anyway, most of you know that about me. Anyway, that's why you're watching this show. So, today Joe is talking about this potential charges being brought against Trump by the district attorney for Manhattan, and not exactly a U.S. attorney, not exactly somebody for the state attorney general. It's from a city, Manhattan. So this fellow from Manhattan possibly is going to be filing charges against Donald Trump, who incidentally has agreed to be a guest on this show. So I have to be very careful how I talk about him, because if he finds out I said something unflattering, he won't show up on my show. And I can't have that, because I have millions of you out there who have already told me that you will watch this show if for no reason other than to support Donald Trump. So Donald Trump might be indicted by this district attorney, whatever he's called, for Manhattan, for conduct arising out of Donald Trump's alleged affair with Stormy Daniels, this porn star. And they were asking Governor DeSantimonious about this the other day. I think he's related to George Santos, who has already been a guest on this show. They were asking him about this Stormy Daniels and the possible charges being brought. And he said, well, the charges are being brought, that's political, it's terrible, da, da, da. And he said, but as far as, the affair with this Stormy Daniels and paying a porn star for sex while his wife was allegedly giving birth to a son in the hospital, I don't really know what to say about that. Well, of course, he knew exactly what he was saying, and what he was doing was saying it's not that whether it's a crime that's the issue here, it's the disgusting personal behavior. And people paying attention to this criminal charges and focusing narrowly on, is this a proper criminal charge to bring, are not focusing on the real issue, which is, do we want somebody with that kind of character and callous indifference to the feelings of others, who basically only cares about himself all the time? That's the real issue. What do we care about, the criminal charges or the behavior itself? So, but getting back to Joe Scarborough, or Morning Joe as we call him, Morning Joe is saying, well, of course they should bring charges. People saying this is a frivolous matter, but look, people have been prosecuted under this statute for turning back up some products that they didn't buy in order to get store credit. They've been prosecuted for forget what the other is, but they involve basically misrepresentations in order to make money. That's called larceny by trick, and that's a crime everywhere. Those are clearly crimes. When someone makes a misrepresentation, sends a paper, signs a form, in order to dishonestly line their pockets. Another one was a fellow who was a school teacher, I guess, who came in. Joe cites these examples of a school teacher who lied about a COVID vaccine in order to get a day off. Well, that sounds like a pretty trivial matter, but apparently this fellow was also prosecuted. Well, that's it's taking time. Time is money. That's basically theft. It's a misrepresentation. It's a fraudulent representation to obtain a benefit to yourself of a financial nature. So, and he's saying, well, these people can be prosecuted for these relatively minor offenses. Why not Donald Trump? You can't say, well, because his is minor, that's not a reason for bringing the charge. That's not the issue, Joe, and you should know better. As a lawyer, and had you gone to Indiana University Law School, as did I, not the one in Indianapolis where Dan Quayle and Mike Pence went, but the one in Indiana where real lawyers go. So had he gone to Bloomington, Indiana, he would not have made such a frivolous statement, because the issue with Trump is that, assuming he did the things he didn't do it to steal money from somebody, as was the case with these other people, which is larceny by trick, money or time. He did it to cover up his own misconduct, and conduct which was not criminal. It's not criminal to have an affair with a porn star, but it's embarrassing. So he did this to cover up an embarrassment. Now, that's not equatable, because there is no such thing as the crime of avoiding embarrassment. So that's not equatable to these other people who stole money. So it's mixing apples and oranges. The issue here is, what's the legal theory? Now, Trump's former lawyer, Cohen, not Roy Cohen, that was a different issue altogether. But this fellow who's running around saying, I went to jail for Trump, and how come Trump escaped scot-free? And he makes a valid point. But he was prosecuted under the federal campaign laws, under the theory that he fabricated he helped Trump fabricate the nature of this payment to Stormy Daniels, masqueraded it as a campaign finance contribution as opposed to paying hush money, and that was a fraudulent representation and a violation of the federal election laws. Well, this fella in New York doesn't have authority to file suit. Remember, he is a local, non-federal prosecutor for the city of Manhattan. So the question, which a lot of us are asking, is, as a matter of law, remember, this is a legal issue, this isn't a political issue. As a matter of law, what charge does he have? And I think from the background noise we hear on this thing is he's pursuing some sort of novel theory. Well, bringing criminal charges against a former president of the United States based on a novel legal theory, if that's what he's doing, is not a very good precedent. So Joe is complaining about, of course, the Republicans who are actually running around trying to make hay out of this thing, but he also complained about the whining progressives or whining Democrats who are also having issues with these charges being filed, because if this criminal charge is really bogus, then that's just a great talking point for Donald Trump and Republicans generally. And of course, what Republicans always do is they find some Democrat, often like somebody says, defund the police, and they say, see, those are the Democrats. Of course, it's nothing like the vast majority of Democrats, who are fairly conservative when it comes to crime. And those of us who are like, I'm not exactly known as a whiner, and I'm not exactly known for taking it easy on Republicans, as those of you who watch this show are well aware. But when Democrats go out and do something which is wrong, then they give the Republicans the opportunity to paint all of us with the same brush. That's the concern. There are other cases out there pending against Trump, potential cases that are very serious and that involve federal law. We know what those cases are. We know what the law is. And if the special counsel appointed by the President Attorney General, if he comes back and files criminal charges against Trump, for example, based on these telephone conversations he had with the Secretary of State in Ohio, where he was clearly trying to get this, not Ohio, in Georgia, where he was obviously trying to convince this fella to falsify election results so that Donald Trump could carry the state of Georgia. I don't know why he cared so much about the state of Georgia, since even that would not have gotten him the presidency. He was way behind in electoral votes. But that telephone call, which everybody has heard now, that probably is a federal campaign violation and a felony. So that one should be pursued. So the fellow from Manhattan, I suspect, really is playing politics, I suspect it. Because I think he wanted to be, if he brings these charges, he wants to be out front. He wants to be the first one. He wants to get all the attention on him. Again, I'm talking within his psyche, and I don't have personal knowledge of that. I want to be careful here because I am a lawyer. And as my dad used to say, being a lawyer is not a right. It's a privilege, and you're not just a lawyer when you're practicing law. You're a lawyer all the time. So be careful what you say. And so I'm trying to be careful. But I'm just suspicious, because it looks weird, that this fellow may be trying to rush out there so he gets all the attention as being the first one to bring criminal charges against Donald Trump. And I think he even campaigned on the notion that he was going to bring Trump to justice. Well, that in and of itself is bad form. Prosecutors are supposed to be objective and not to make decisions in advance, and certainly not to make a campaign issue out of whom they're going to prosecute. So if that's what's going on here, that attorney should rightfully be criticized. And I think Morning Joe, my good buddy, should also be careful about criticizing people who are criticizing the prosecutor, particularly those of us who find our home in the Democratic Party. So that's about it for my serious discussion today. And I know what you're all asking is, well, should I keep this on? Or is there a chance that Ed might sing another song, in which case I'm getting out of here right now. Well, congratulations. I'm not going to sing a song today because I have a sore throat, and also I've been asked by numerous public officials to stop the damn singing, Ed. So I'm not going to sing today, but, well, I may sing this afternoon. I may sing happy birthday to my dog, Francois Pierre, who is now, he's a French bulldog, obviously by the name. He's quite proud of the fact that on his 9th birthday, which is today, his 9th birthday, he will be the most desirable, the most favored dog in the country. And I tried to explain to him, I got to talk kind of lowly now because he's pretending to be asleep. He often does that when he wants to eavesdrop. So I'm going to speak at a quiet tone of voice. He doesn't understand that it was the breed French bulldogs, which are now number one, having overtaken the whatever that loser dog was that used to be in first place. But it's not him personally. He's just another French bulldog. And of course, if he heard me say that, I would be missing my hand. But anyway, I probably will be singing Happy Birthday to him, and I may be singing the Mexican version, which is Las Mañanitas, which is a much prettier song than Happy Birthday, which frankly, the way most people sing it, it sounds like a funeral dirge. It sounds like you're saying, happy birthday, you're 1 year closer to death, and in celebration of that, I'm going to sing happy birthday with happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, dear Francois, happy birthday to you. And that's how it sounds, like a funeral dirge. So that's among the things I'm trying to clean up in this country, is to get rid of that happy birthday song and replace it with something which sounds celebratory. So on that note, I'm going to go practice up so I can sing to my dog when he wakes up, assuming he's not just pretending to be asleep right now. And the rest of you, have a good day or whatever. Be sure that if you drink a lot, that you always pretend there's a reason for it. Otherwise, people will think you're just a sloppy drunk. Bye.